Welcome in, everyone, to another deep dive. This time we're tackling a subject that might not scream excitement at first glance.
Yeah, funeral home website's not exactly the most riveting topic for everyone.
True, but if you're a funeral home owner or director, this deep dive is tailor-made for you. We're going beyond just the basic online obituary listings and exploring how a website can be a powerful tool in today's world.
Exactly, because the way people search for information and support, especially when dealing with loss, has fundamentally changed, and families expect more comprehensive resources and a convenient online experience.
Absolutely, and this blog post we're diving into from Director's Corner really hits the nail on the head. They call out a lot of funeral home websites for being stuck in the past, basically acting as digital business cards.
Which is a pretty apt analogy, actually. I mean, think about it. When was the last time you truly looked at your website from the perspective of a grieving family member?
Right. Are they able to easily find the information they need about services or arrangements or grief support?
Can they get a sense of who you are as a funeral home, what your values are, what makes you unique?
These are all crucial questions, and that's what Director's Corner is pushing for funeral homes to move beyond just providing basic information and really make their websites a central hub for families.
Not just during times of loss, but for pre-planning as well.
Exactly. Funeral home websites, they almost have like this dual purpose.
Well, for sure.
They need to meet the immediate needs of the family who is grieving and planning a funeral,
Right.
but also they need to build relationships with the community long before those needs even arise.
You're exactly right. And you know what I like about Director's Corner is they approach this in a really smart way. They advocate for enhancing your existing website.
Okay.
So no need to switch providers or start from scratch.
So you can kind of just work with what you have.
Exactly. You can upgrade what you already have to create a more helpful experience for families.
I like that.
Like,
Okay, so let's start with those immediate needs then.
okay.
We know that families turn to the internet for information and support during times of loss. So what are the key things that funeral home websites need to offer to meet those needs?
Well, you got to think about the grieving family's mindset.
All right.
They're likely feeling overwhelmed, stressed, maybe even confused
Sure.
about the steps to take next.
Right.
Your website needs to be a source of calm and clarity.
At that moment.
Yeah,
So easy navigation, clear and concise information.
absolutely. Director's Corner really emphasizes the need for mobile responsiveness.
Oh, of course.
Because everybody's on their phones.
Yeah.
They also talk about offering like downloadable guides and checklists.
Okay.
Imagine providing a simple checklist for what to do when a loved one passes away. That can be really invaluable to families during a chaotic time.
Yeah, that's a great example. And it's not just about providing information, it's about offering practical support too.
Right. Director's Corner suggests incorporating interactive tools,
Oh,
like a funeral cost calculator or a tribute video maker,
interesting.
that goes beyond static information, and it empowers families to take an active role
Yeah.
in the planning process.
I could see how those interactive elements would also make the website a little bit more engaging and less intimidating.
Yeah, exactly. The goal is to make it welcoming and supportive.
Right.
But it goes beyond just functionality.
Oh,
The post also emphasizes the importance of creating unique content
okay.
that reflects your funeral home's personality and values.
Well, that's interesting. I like that idea of originality. How can funeral homes avoid getting lost in a sea of sameness when it comes to their websites?
Well, one of the things Director's Corner suggests is showcasing your history and your mission.
Makes sense.
What makes you unique? Tell that story. You might have a tradition of serving a particular community
Right.
or a unique approach to funeral services. Highlight those things.
So it's going beyond just listing the services and really
Yeah.
conveying what you stand for.
Exactly. And don't be afraid to get specific.
Okay.
Maybe you specialize in green burials or grief counseling.
Yeah.
Instead of just saying grief support, describe what that looks like.
Right.
Do you have support groups, individual counseling sessions, online resources?
So really giving the details.
The more detailed, the better.
So families can really understand what sets you apart and why they should choose your funeral home.
You know what else helps families choose?
What's that?
Showcasing your community involvement.
Oh, yeah.
People want to know they're supporting a business that cares.
Right.
Highlight any local organizations you partner with
Yeah.
or charitable work you do.
Makes sense.
It shows your commitment and makes you relatable.
Those are all really great tips for meeting the immediate needs of grieving families. But let's move on to that second purpose.
Yeah.
We talk about building relationships with the community before they're facing a loss.
That's where things get really interesting.
Yeah.
Director's Corner highlights using your website to establish yourself as a trusted resource for end-of-life planning and grief support.
Okay.
They advocate for creating content that educates and empowers families long before they need your services.
So instead of just waiting for people to come to you in a time of need,
Yeah.
you're reaching out and
Exactly.
offering valuable information that's relevant to everyone.
Right. And the key here, again, is originality.
Okay.
Avoid generic blog posts.
Right.
Think about the specific needs and concerns of your community.
Okay.
Maybe you have a large senior population, so you offer resources on pre-planning.
That makes sense.
Or maybe there's a cultural group with specific funeral traditions.
Right.
Create content that speaks to those needs
Yeah.
and shows that you understand the diverse community you serve.
So it's about being proactive and engaging with your community in a meaningful way.
Exactly. And it's also about showing your expertise.
Oh.
Think of your website as a platform for demonstrating your knowledge and compassion.
This has been really insightful so far. I feel like the key takeaway here is that funeral home websites have the potential to be so much more than just a digital brochure.
Absolutely. It's about transforming them into dynamic hubs
Yes.
of information support and connection.
I like that.
But we've only scratched the surface.
Oh, really?
Let's get into some more specific examples of how you can put all of this into practice.
Okay. Sounds good. Let's do it.
So let's dive into those specifics.
Yeah, let's get into like the concrete ways that you can make these changes to your website.
Yeah, so, in the last segment, we talked about showcasing your funeral home's unique personality.
Right.
What are some creative ways to do that? Aside from just writing about us content.
Yeah, that's a great question. What about visuals?
Visuals are huge.
Okay.
Director's Corner suggests using high-quality photos and videos.
Makes sense.
Instead of generic stock photos.
Yeah.
Use images that showcase the warmth and beauty of your funeral home.
You mean like pictures of the actual spaces where the services are held?
Exactly.
And maybe even photos of like your staff interacting with families?
Yeah, let people see the faces behind the services.
Okay.
You can also use video to share testimonials from families that you've served.
Yeah.
Hearing those firsthand accounts can be really powerful.
That's a great idea.
Yeah.
Yeah, it really personalizes the experience and lets potential clients see, how you've helped others.
And think about ways to incorporate interactive elements.
Okay.
For example, you could create a virtual tour of your facility.
A virtual tour.
Yeah.
Now, that's something you don't see on every funeral home website.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
It's a great idea.
It would be especially helpful for families that are maybe relocating to the area.
Right.
Or are unable to visit in person.
Yeah, that's the kind of forward thinking that Director's Corner is encouraging.
Yeah.
It's about meeting people where they are,
Right.
anticipating their needs.
Exactly. Okay. So we talked about visuals. What about offering like a variety of content formats?
That's a good idea.
Like maybe having a blog where you share, articles on grief support and end-of-life planning.
A blog is a great idea. I've seen some funeral homes do that really well.
Yeah.
The good ones avoid being overly promotional.
Right.
They just focus on providing value for the reader.
Yeah, that's a good point. Director's Corner advises against being overly salesy
Yeah.
in your content.
Instead, position yourself as a trusted advisor.
Oh.
Share your expertise, offer practical tips,
Yeah,
address common concerns that people have
right.
about funerals and end-of-life planning.
So it's more about education and empowerment than
Exactly.
just, pushing your services.
You got it.
Yeah.
And you can diversify even further by incorporating things like podcasts or webinars.
Oh, yeah?
A podcast could feature interviews with grief counselors or other experts,
Sure.
providing valuable insights for your community. Webinars could cover topics like pre-planning or understanding different funeral options.
That's a great idea.
It's a great way to reach a wider audience and really demonstrate your knowledge.
Yeah, and it establishes you as like a thought leader in the community.
Exactly.
You become the go-to resource.
You got it. Now let's talk about something Director's Corner really emphasizes, providing ongoing support through your website.
Yeah, I think that's really important. Grief doesn't end after the funeral service.
No, it doesn't.
So how can funeral homes continue to support families online?
Well, one way is to create a dedicated section on your website for grief support resources.
Okay.
You could offer links to reputable grief organizations, articles on coping with loss, or even host online support groups.
So you're creating a safe space for families to, connect with others
Exactly.
and find the resources they need, even months or years after a loss.
Yeah. You can personalize the support even further by offering personalized memorial pages.
Oh, I love those.
Yeah.
For each individual.
Families can share photos, stories, and memories.
I think those are so nice. It's a really beautiful way to keep someone's memory alive
It is.
and create a virtual gathering space
Yeah.
for friends and family to share their condolences.
And it can be a source of comfort for families to go back and revisit those pages
Right.
and read those messages.
Exactly. Okay, so we've talked about providing grief support and personalized memorials.
Hmm.
What about pre-planning?
Pre-planning.
I know it's something that some people might be hesitant to talk about,
Yeah.
but offering those resources online could be a great way to make it more approachable.
You're right. Pre-planning is often seen as this taboo topic,
Yeah.
but Director's Corner suggests normalizing it
Okay.
by making the information easily accessible on your website.
So you could have a dedicated section on pre-planning,
Exactly.
explaining the benefits,
Yeah.
offering guidance on how to get started.
To address common questions.
Like, why should I pre-plan?
Exactly.
What are my options?
You can even offer interactive tools like a pre-planning checklist or a cost calculator.
And for those who are ready to take the next step,
Yeah.
you could have online forms they can fill out to actually start the pre-planning process.
Exactly. It streamlines the process for families
Yeah,
and allows them to do it at their own pace in the comfort of their own home.
it seems like a win-win. Families feel empowered to make their own choices,
For sure.
and it frees up your staff to focus on providing more personalized support.
You've got it. And speaking of Staff Director's Corner, also highlights how a well-designed website can actually enhance operational efficiency.
Oh, that's interesting. I wouldn't have thought of that.
Yeah.
But it makes sense if you're streamlining things online,
Yeah.
you're freeing up time and resources for your staff to focus on what matters most,
Exactly.
providing compassionate care to families.
Absolutely. Let's delve into those operational benefits in the next part.
So it's really amazing to think about all the ways that a website can help funeral homes become more efficient.
It really is. And, this efficiency, it all comes back to better service for the families. When your staff isn't bogged down with all those administrative tasks,
Yeah,
they can provide better care and personalized attention.
that makes sense. So let's talk specifics then. What are some ways that websites can actually streamline those operations?
Well, Director's Corner talks about online forms.
Okay.
You can use them for everything, like pre-planning arrangements to gathering information for obituaries.
Oh, right.
Imagine families filling out those forms at home at their own pace.
Right.
Not only is it convenient for them, it saves your staff a ton of time.
Yeah. And I bet it reduces errors too,
Absolutely.
because families are putting in the information themselves.
Right. And, since we're talking about obituaries,
Yeah.
a lot of funeral home website providers, they offer what are called integrated obituary management systems.
Okay.
These systems, they streamline the process of publishing obituaries online and sharing them to all the different platforms.
So instead of having to manually post it to all the different websites,
Exactly. It's all done automatically.
that's a huge time saver.
Yeah. And you can take it a step further and give families the option to create and manage their loved one's memorial page
Right. On the website.
directly through the website.
That's a great idea. It gives them so much control over how they want to remember their loved one.
Absolutely. And of course, we can't forget about online payment options.
Right.
Offering families a way to securely pay for services online that can really simplify things.
It's convenient for everyone.
It is.
It seems like Director's Corner thought of everything when it comes to using the website for efficiency.
They really have. And you know what I love about it is that all these efficiency gains really free up your staff to focus on what really matters,
Yeah.
providing compassionate care to families during a difficult time.
It's like technology is actually enhancing the human touch, not replacing it.
Exactly.
So as we wrap up our deep dive today, what's the one thing you hope listeners will take away from this?
I think the most important takeaway is that your funeral home website can be so much more than just a simple digital business card. It can be a dynamic hub for information support connection.
Yeah.
It can help you meet the needs of modern grieving families, build relationships in your community,
Yeah.
and even make things more efficient for your staff.
And it all starts by just asking yourself, how can I use my website to make a meaningful difference in the lives of the families I serve?
That's a great question for everyone to consider.
Absolutely. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the world of funeral home websites. We hope you've gained some valuable insights and are feeling inspired to take your online presence to the next level.
Until next time, keep diving deep.